Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 388. Happy VE Day, everyone. It's the victory in Europe in 1945 over Nazi Germany. So there's your U.S. history for the day. But we got more American history in just a minute. Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce. So as we get started and get ramped up, we got people coming on board. We got Rumble people. X didn't acknowledge today for some reason. And then we have Fakebook and ScrewTube, but nobody's on them right now. Everyone's on Rumble Pure, which is cool. I like that better. Well, welcome to the JP8 Report. Click the follow button if you're not already a follower of the JP8 Report. Please do so at this time. Click the follow button and then give me a like as I check this real quick. Nope. Where did it go? All right. So, yeah. So everything is, so just so you know, this morning there was a problem on Rumble. We're good to go. The chat was all messed up, and there were podcasts that were glitching because I checked different other mediums after mine this morning with the morning brief. But everything seems to be ironing out good, so that's awesome. We'll go with that. So with the chat, get in with the chat since it's fixed. Covite for Life's on there. We have retired Rob 53, but he says he's only listening right now. He's not paying attention to the chat. But so let's do this, all right? So America 250, I have a letter from Abigail Adams to her husband, John Adams. And I don't know whether to rate this or not, but we will see. How many are the solitary hours I spend ruminating on the past and anticipating the future, whilst you overwhelmed with the cares of state, but have but few moments you can devote to any individual. All domestic pleasures and enjoyments are absorbed in the great and important duty you owe your country, for our country is at it for a secondary God and the first and greatest parent. It is to the preferred parents, wives, children, friends, and all things that the gods only accepted. For if our country perishes, it is as impossible to save as an individual, as to preserve one of the fingers of a mortified hand. Thus I do to suppress every wish and silence every murmur, acquiescing in a painful separation from the companion of my youth and the friend of my heart. I believe 'tis near 10 days since I wrote you a line, and I have not felt in a humor to entertain you. If I had taken up my pen, perhaps some unbecoming invective might fall upon it. The eyes of our rulers have been closed, and a lethargy has seized almost every member. I fear a fatal security has taken possession of them, whilst building in is in whilst whilst the building is on flame, the tremble at the expense of water to quench it. In short, 2 months have lapsed since the evacuation of Boston, and very little has been done in that time to secure it, or the harbor from future invasion till the people are all in a flame. And no one amongst us that I have ever heard or even mentions expense. They think universally that there has been an amazing neglect somewhere. Many have turned out as volunteers to work upon Noodles Island, and many more would go upon Nantucket if it was once set on afoot. 'Tis a maximum of state that power and liberty are like heat and moisture, where there are well mixed of everything prospers, where they are single, they are destructive. The government and more stability and much more is in this colony, and they are ready to receive from the hands of Congress. And since I have begun the maximums of state, I will add and other visibility that a people may let a king fall, yet still remain a people. But if a king let his people slip from him, he is no longer a king. And as this is the most certainly our case, why not proclaim to the world in decisive terms your own importance? Shall we not be despised by foreign powers for hesitating so long at a word? I cannot say that I think you very generous to the ladies, for whilst you are proclaiming peace and goodwill to men, emancipating all nations, you insist upon retaining absolute power over wives. You must remember the arbitrary power is like most of other things which are very hard, very liable to be broken, and notwithstanding of your wise laws and maxims, we have it in our power not only to free ourselves, but to subdue our masters, and without violence, throw both your natural and legal authority at our feet. Charmed by accepting, by submitting sway, you have our humor most when we obey. Uh, I thank you were. I thank you for several letters which I have received since I wrote last. They elevate a tedious absence and a long earnestly for a Saturday evening, and experience a similar pleasure to that which I used to find in the return of my friend upon that day after a week's absence. The ideal of a year dissolves all my philosophy. Our little ones, whom you often recommend to my care and instruction, shall not be deficient in virtue or probity if the precepts of a mother have their desired effect, but they would be doubtedly enforced. Would enforced they would be they they be indulged. They missed a word. Uh, with an example of a father constantly before them, I often point them to their sire, engaged in a corrupted state, wrestling for vice and faction. Okay. And then she wrote, I designed to finish the sheet, but an opportunity offering, I chose only to inform you that May the 7th, our privateers took two prices in the bay in fair sight of a man of war, one brig from Ireland and other from Fayal, loaded with brandy and other beef The wind was east and a flood tide, so that the tenders could not get out even if they tried several times. The lighthouse fired signal guns, but they would not do. But all they would do, no, but all would not do. They took them in triumph and carried them to Lynn. And okay, so that's the letter. A little bit about Boston and about declaring independence and how nobody wants to help clean up the town of Boston. All right, which was under siege for 10 months. All right, so that is your America 250 for the day. And now onward to the armament shop. Okay, whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the Armament Shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs, along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? Jason can handle those classes. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the Armament Shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Coppers Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023. Or you can reach them at www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. All right, so go to that one. All right, so we got that done. We got to go into the RAN update. I hope everyone's doing good so far. We got a good showing online here. All right, don't forget to get involved in our chat. We're looking for some flags in the chat if you can. Would be appreciated. So with the Iran update, we got Operation Epic Fury and Project Freedom. Both are in suspense right now. The ceasefire is in effect. The suspensions are from, there are talks going on between Iranians and Pakistanis and the U.S. and the Pakistanis. They're playing the middleman right now. So while that's all going on, nothing's happening, okay? The peace deal could be done in a week. They're waiting for the memorandum to be done in probably the next 24 hours. China has ordered all of its companies to disregard U.S. sanctions. Co Allen, the guy that almost 2 weeks ago now tried to charge through a Secret Service barrier into the ballroom at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he said he was driven by what was happening in the Iran war, and that's why he did his stuff in D.C. The Iranian president acknowledged he has been meeting with the supreme leader somewhere. We're still looking for the 8-digit grid so we can finish the job. The U.S. says we're ready for much higher strikes if called for. Marco Rubio met with the Pope Leo the 16th, I think it is. Gaza is going to cost $71 billion to rebuild, and I honestly think that's a low number. It's got to be like $250 billion. United Arab Emirates condemns Iran and the threat they've been making toward United Arab Emirates. 52 ships have been turned around. There was one that was actually struck by a U.S. vessel. I believe it was a U.S. vessel because it was Iranian flag that was trying to run blockade. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with the president last night. And then Israel wants no enrichment. They want missile limits and strict enforcement if anything comes out of the stuff with Iran. All right. Brent crude oil a while ago was at $97.38 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate was at $91.40 a barrel. And the Dow Jones was down like 29.98 points to 49,880.61. Earlier this morning, that thing hit 20,000. 50,000. So it dropped off by like 100 points. But I have a feeling it's going to hit there by the end of the day. All right. So that's your Iran update. First story out of the hopper: when one vote counts. So, in our lucky liberal newspaper we have here in Copper's Cove, we had municipal elections last Saturday on the 2nd, and in the city of Morgan's Point Resort, which is on I believe on the east side of Lake Belton, right? So if you go to Temple, Texas, you look a little bit northwest, that's Morgan's Point Resort, right? Matter of fact, their zip code is 76513, which is Belton. So everything convolutes right there in that part of Central Texas. So in the mayor's race, no, not a mayor, they had a city council race. They had 6 candidates in the city council race. The top 3 get to be city councilmen, right? So you have your early vote and you have your day of vote. So, oh, okay, got it, Rob. Retired Rob 53 just sent me a text message. So if you look on the screen, you'll see 6 candidates, right? You have the one that won the first outright is Samuel Palin. Next is Dorothy Allen, right? And then you had the next 2. You had Sarah Steers, and then you had Melanie Broler, right? And they had 133. So you had 4 people in the top 3. So there was a tie right there. And if you look down close to the bottom here, where it says, oh, it won't come out. Oh, man. Okay. Total votes. 225 people voted in that race alone. That's all. Out of probably approximately, and I've been trying to get this all morning long, and I couldn't get it. But I do believe there's about 2,000 voters in Morgan's Point, which would give them not a very good turnout. Hold on just a second here. No big deal. Okay, so you had probably about a 10% voting turnout. So I called. So I saw how many votes there were in the paper. It says a runoff election among city council candidates is expected after one provisional ballot was not allowed following the Saturday, May 2nd election. Morgan Point Resort residents were able to vote for up to 3 of the 6 city council candidates, while official numbers showed 2 of the 6 candidates clearly victorious, which we saw, right? Candidates Melanie and Bower and Sarah Steers both ended up with 133 votes, which there's a tie. The board met Wednesday at noon in City Hall to qualify and count the mail-in ballots for the election and one provisional ballot, which could have potentially determined the final outcome. But after speaking with Bell County elections official, the Texas Secretary of State, the city secretary Kelly Mirillo, told the Telegram that the board rejected the provisional ballot because the voter lived in Belton and only moved to Morgan's Point after the April 20th voter registration cutoff for the municipal race. That's wrong, because I do believe the cutoff for the municipal race was April 2nd. But the fact is, April 20th is still wrong, right? So, hold on just a second. Let me go to the ballot. On the disqualified provisional ballot, although the board could open the ballot, they could not. She said they did not want to, in order to prevent potentially swaying the ensuing runoff. Apparently, this was the first time the city had ever had a tie. Last year, the city had a race result in a tie, but did not affect the final outcome because both city council candidates, Bishop and Clune, tied for a fifth of the seventh race. So what's going to happen is they both want to be on the city council, and their ordinance dictates it goes to a runoff. And I believe they had to get clarification through the Secretary of State's office. Now it goes to June 13th. What I'm gathering at is one vote counts. One vote counts. You had 225 voters out of approximately 2,000 voters that actually voted. So you had about a 10% turnout. Who didn't vote? That's the question. Because that one person that either one of those ladies, either Sarah or Melanie, knew that didn't vote. Someone they knew didn't vote for them, or just flat out didn't vote. So which is it? So before I came on the air, I tried from about 9:45 to all the way up to 11 o'clock this morning, trying to find out how many registered voters are in Morgan's Point Resort. I called the city hall twice. I tried calling the elections administrator in Bell County. I called it again, got a hold of some lady named Erica. She said, you need to fill out an immediate release paper and send it in just so you can get the number of registered voters inside that city. I'm like, what? That should be readily available for anyone to see. That should be posted when you do the canvass of votes, which they did, because y'all just saw the canvass just now. I'll show you again. There's the canvass, right? That's crazy. And unbelievable. So, while I don't want to do a Freedom of Information Act thing, I called a buddy of mine, Chip. He didn't know. He couldn't. He said he would try to find out for me and then text it back over to me if he could. And then I called another buddy of mine, Dennis Faulkner. He was at the gym. He said he's going to text it to me during the podcast. So if he's able to get it to me by the time we come off the air, I'll do that. But why is it so hard to get the number of registered voters for your precinct? Me, here in Coryell County, I can call our elections administrator up in Gatesville, and he'll give it to me over the phone. How many people are registered to vote, either in Coppers Cove Independent School District, City of Coppers Cove, or you can go on the state Secretary of State's, and you can see how many actually registered for the county, and he can give it to you also. Why does it have to be so hard to get the number of registered voters? This is why it's so hard to get people to go out and vote, because the politicians actually running for office, they have no idea who to contact, what doors to knock on, or whatever, because everything is so closed up. It's like they don't want you to go vote. When you have 225 voters, and I was going to go nice on Morgan's Point, but the fact is, they only had 225 people vote out of a population of over 4,000 people in their town. Approximately 2,000 to 2,500 people are registered voters in that city. And only 225 voted. 133 of them voted for those two ladies each, right? Because you can vote up to 3. So you're looking at that, and you're like, what in tarnations is going on here? Why is the turnout so low? One, they're doing elections on a Saturday in May, okay? A week prior to Mother's Day. It was raining that day. It was really raining. But you still had early vote. Matter of fact, go back to the chart. Look down there where it says provisional ballot. It was submitted during the early vote. It wasn't even election day. So the person came in, did and tried to vote early, and is in the wrong spot. But that's beside the case. Not enough people are getting out to vote because voting's at the wrong time, and they don't know how to get the vote out. We have tools available to us where we can actually use to get out to vote. Now, you're looking at Morgan's Point. And 99% of the people that are actually out there listening to me right now don't have the foggiest clue where Morgan's Point Resort is. Matter of fact, got 9 people watching right now live. If you know where Morgan's Point Resort is, type yes in the chat. I don't know how to do the poll thing on here. I would do that if I could figure it out. I don't want to mess this thing up after what happened to me this morning. But yeah, so if you know where Morgan's Point Resort is, type yes in the chat or type no. Okay? Either one. All right? So I'm going to put this over here. You got to get out and vote no matter what. He did. Ding, 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 ding. Retired Rock 53 knows where Morgan's Point Resort is. He got 1. That's cool. Next, don't mess with Texas. Okay? Don't mess with Texas. So this isn't political. Well, it could be construed as being political. In Garland, Texas, where we're still in Texas, okay? In Northeast, Rob Enter. Thanks for the text, Rob. I appreciate it. We're still in Texas. We're in Garland. Garland is in Northeast Dallas County, right? And this last Sunday, about 3:30 in the afternoon, officers responded to a crash involving a car that hit 2 other vehicles. All right. Officials said the driver of the car at fault, identified as Jose Ramirez, 30 years old, parked the car at a nearby gas station and was unsuccessfully attempted to take several vehicles by force in the parking lot. He then ran across the road to a convenience store parking lot where he attempted to forcefully take the father's car, according to police. Surveillance video obtained by the affiliate Fox 4, that's a really good TV station in Dallas, showed Ramirez yanking the father out of the driver's side of his car and forcefully trying to get inside. A small child was seen running from the back seat as the family scrambled to escape. Ramirez was then seen closing the doors and sitting inside the driver's side vehicle as the father opened the door from the passenger side. Ramirez was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Authorities said no other injuries reported. Officer said the father stayed at the vehicle and was cooperating with investigators and missed the part where Ramirez within said closing doors sitting on the inside the driver's side as the father opened fire from the passenger side. The Ramirez says, "Wow, okay." Well, Ramirez is a legal alien from Mexico, right? Um, and the father put 10 rounds inside of him, and he was declared dead. And like Garland police lieutenant said, the shooting seems to be self defense, and it's kind of all like something that happened really fast. You know, you're told in Texas, be wary because someone may be armed. Don't do stupid stuff because stupid stuff will get you killed. You had a dad with 7 other people in that car, and this guy tried to take his car and his family, and he paid a price for it, an ultimate price for a guy that should not have even been in our country in the first place. He was illegal. He didn't have an I-551 card, which is a green card. He didn't have a visa. He was illegal. Illegal, capital ILLEGAL. Illegal. Now he's dead because he was stupid. The car is an extension of the Crown Doctrine in the United States, so he was defending his house. There's no way they could charge him with anything because it was his right to defend his property and his family, and he did. So kudos to that guy, because you never know when I'm armed. Because I sometimes I do concealed, sometimes I do open carry. I leave it to the imagination. Same thing with other members of my family. That's the way it is. It's the way it is. That is why we have the Second Amendment right there. And he was very fortunate. He was carrying and he used it. He was confident. Like I tell people, if you're going to get your concealed or if you're going to carry a concealed, you should go through classes. And when I first got my CHL several years ago, it was put out to me and everyone else in our class. If you are afraid to pull the trigger, don't carry, because in a moment's notice you have to pull your weapon and fire. So you have that confidence in you to do this, right? And that's what happened. That is what happened. I'm so glad he was armed to defend his family. You know, I was listening to Fox News before I came in here, and Leslie Marshall was talking about, well, I don't carry a weapon, and I'm always vigilant, and if someone ever tried to carjack me, I would use my fist and beat them until I can get them out of my car. I'm thinking, are you out of your mind, lady? You'd be dead, because most people, the vast majority of people at carjack are carrying weapons. This guy didn't. But the vast majority of them are carrying. You end up dead if you're trying to use your fist. That's why you go armed. But she's one of these bleeding heart liberals from Southern California that believes you can talk your way out of a lethal situation. All right. But yeah, that was, man, don't mess with Texas. Ha! I'm going to put a Texas flag in the chat. A whole bunch of them. Long live Texas. Oh, yeah. All right. So onward. Blue state gerrymanders and legal crosshairs for violating civil rights must comply. That's from Harmon Dillon. She's the Department of Justice Civil Rights Director, right? She is one lady you never want to cross inside of the Department of Justice. She's a very, very tough cookie. And what she's talking about in this is that what she's talking about is in light of the Supreme Court ruling from last week about the Voting Rights Act, right? In which you can no longer have minority, majority congressional districts. So you have several states across the South that are starting like, okay, we got to redistrict because it's got to be fair across the board. What she is saying here is that um, if you have a state constitution, in which a lot of blue states do, and if you're in a blue state with gerrymandered congressional district, in which a lot of them do, look at Illinois 13 and Illinois 17, right? They look like crescent moons. And then you go over to New York, how they do theirs. You go to California, how do they do theirs. The Department of Justice says they will be all over them. My term is going to be like white on rice. All right, those states will be sued and forced to comply with the Supreme Court ruling, saying that is discriminatory and it has to be fixed. They may not have it fixed by this congressional term, but I best believe by 2028 it will be fixed totally. Right. Following the Supreme Court decision striking down Louisiana's congressional map as unconstitutional racial gerrymandering, other states have used race as a predominant factor in gerrymandering are now under the microscope by the Department of Justice and will possibly be vulnerable to lawsuits and future redistricting mandates before the midterm elections in November. Well, it may happen sooner than I said. This is the law of the land now, and eventually every jurisdiction in the United States is going to have to comply with race-free line drawing. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Division Harmon Dillon told Just the News. The nation's highest court ruled 6-3 in Louisiana versus Calais that the state was not required under the Voting Rights Act to create a second majority black district and that compliance with the law could not justify the race-based drawing of lines, a decision that is expected to make it harder for other states to draw similar majority-minority districts in the future redistricting. Dillon signaled that the DOJ already anticipates legal action. She says, some states have race in their constitutions as a requirement in redistricting. That's now illegal. So the field is ripe for legal challenges, not just by the Department of Justice, but by private plaintiffs, candidates, and others. All right. So what do y'all think about that? That is high-speed, low-drag stuff. They did not wait. They did not wait for the ground to get dry before they took off. Because on Monday, which was 3 days ago, the Supreme Court said in a directive that this judgment that was released last Thursday, I believe, had to be immediately implemented across the country. There was not, I'm going to get out of jail free card and I'm going to wait a couple months or years to be able to implement this. They said, do not pass go, do not collect $200, go straight to jail. That is all illegal. You will make the changes now type deal. All right. 10 states have enacted their own Voting Rights Act, often called VRAs or SVRAs, that explicitly prohibit racial vote dilution and effectively require race to be considered in determining whether minority groups defined as protected classes based on race, color, language, minority status have been denied a fair opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. So now you have to have district allocated by political and population makeup. That's all. You can, I read this yesterday. Wesley Hunt is in the 38th Congressional District in Texas. He's black. He's very black. either former Army officer, combat vet, West Point officer. That's his only deficiency. He was a West Point officer. Just joking, people. Just joking. My first PL I had when I was a platoon sergeant was a West Point grad. No, but Wesley Hunt, black. 38th Congressional District is overwhelmingly Caucasian down near the Houston Galveston area. And he got elected. Wesley Hunt, which is black, got elected in Texas in a very majority white congressional district. You know what? You can play that game all you want. It's how you campaign and how you are in your heart and what plans you have for your constituents that get you elected. You make it fair across the board. You'll get your share of Democrats and your share of Republicans elected in Congress for what they stand for, not what they look like. Okay? Because the equality clause of the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment pertains in this ruling. Now, all these others states out there that are discriminatory have to fix the borders of their congressional districts. All right? So I'm not saying that, like in California, they got this new referendum where they redistricted, right? And they're like, oh, wow, we got to go in and we got to redistrict this. You know what? They can adjust the boundaries without having people refile. I mean, if they want to drop, they can drop. But it's, like I said, it's all about right here, right here. Okay? That's what gets you elected. And how many doors you can knock on, how many babies you can kiss, and how many pancakes you can flip. That's how sound bites and snapshots are what gets you elected. With that, what time is it already? It's already 12:40. Wow. Man, time flies. Wow. I'm not. How did I miss that? Which one was that? Blue State Gerrymander. Okay. So the next one I showed a little bit this morning, right? And half of it deals with Florida about redistricting. Let me get that ready. Okay. So I'm going to put this up on the screen so you can see it's a little tight. It might be a little bit hard to see, but it all depends. It shows what happened when Florida redistricted. Florida is on the left side of the screen, and then they got some other states on the right-hand side of the screen. This is the ramifications after Florida made their voting districts, their congressional districts, fair and ungerrymandered. Okay? So you'll see, like, the second one down is a safe Democrat, and then under the new map is it leans Republican. Okay, you go a little bit further down, you'll see another one that's light blue, likely Democrat. Now it's likely Republican. And then you have another one, a couple more down, safe Democrat. Now leans Republican. And then the next one, leans Democrat, safe Democrat. They made a safe Democrat seat. See, they made it fair. All right. And then the last one is safe Democrat. Now it's a toss-up. And then you see the ones right next to it, how most of them are going toward the Republicans. And that's just being fair. They can do that, okay? That's congressional representation. They determine the boundaries of your congressional districts where you're voting at. All right? So what happened was this came from the University of Virginia Center for Politics. Now, you have retired Rob. He's on there. He's old enough because he's older than me. There was a guy that used to, his name is Larry Salvato. Larry Salvato. He had the crystal ball. He used to always come on, I believe it was like ABC for years, and he would give his predictions for elections. All right. So I think he might have passed away, but University of Virginia still has the Center for Politics. and I don't know if they call it the crystal ball anymore, but they shifted 17 House races on Wednesday due to redistricting and primary elections and, as they say, congressional scandals. 9 of the organization's race changings, which would be 8 left over after that, were California, whereas Florida, right? And after Governor DeSantis signed his new congressional district map, right? The Sunshine State's 14th district, held by Kathy Castor, was she's been in Congress for a while, a long while, right? And her seat shifted from safe Democrat to leans Republican, right? And then, but there's more. There's more. There's another one, Darren Soto. He is in the 9th district of Florida. He shifted from likely Democrat to likely Republican. He's going to go put an application in McDonald's. Okay, but there's other ones, right? There's new ones out here. Ohio, um, Ohio is with Representative Marcy Kaptur. Marcy Kaptur has been in the Congress as a Democrat for 40 years. She's the longest serving female congresswoman in congressional history, right? Her race, her district was shifted from um, leans Republican to toss up. So they padded her seat just a little bit, but she's going to lose. She will lose because of who the Republicans got to run in the Republican primary. This was the one where in the Republican side there was the Miss Flanagan, I think it is. She was the deputy ICE director. She resigned her position to run for office in Ohio. She ran against 2 other Republicans, and she lost. All right. And then it says at the very end of the article, our overall House ratings showed 213 districts safe, likely, or leans Democrat, 207 rated safe, likely, or leans Republican, and 15 rated as toss-ups. So basically, if the Republicans win 8 out of the 15, I think it's 8, 4 to 11, yeah, 8 of the 15 toss-ups, they got the majority again. But I think it's going to be a lot more than what they're saying in that article right there. Okay. So to go with that, hold on, I need something to drink. I'm getting dehydrated. I'm losing my voice again. So we got 6 months until midterms, right? And it's all about the Benjamins, baby. Okay? Believe me, it's all about the Benjamins. Whether you're using Act Blue or Win Red, donations mean a lot when it comes to running races. I see too many candidates say, I'm going to self-fund because I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression. Dude, you're going to get beat. You're going to get beat bad, right? The average congressional race here in Texas, in where I live at, is about $5,000 in Copper's Cove area to run a city council race. I know, like over in Harker Heights, I do believe they're spending $20,000 to $30,000 for a city council race to get to represent for, like in Cove. If you're in a city council in Copper's Cove, you get paid $25 for a city council meeting, and they have 2 city council meetings a month. So you get $50 of compensation for each month you're on the city council that you make a meeting, right? It's not like they're making $5,000 a month or $2,500 a month. They're making $50 a month to represent the city, right? and they want to spend $5,000 to get elected. You're going, unless you're wealthy, you're going to need campaign donations, right? Matter of fact, if you are in the Texas runoff, don't forget next week your campaign finance report is due. All right, just to help out. So a GOP congressional committee, it's called NRCC, said that the Republican Party holds a fundraising advantage over Democrats and said it will support Republicans' thin House majority 6 months away from Republican midterms, the November midterms. The fundraising success goes beyond the NRCC, remember, the National Republican Congressional Committee, reflecting a fully aligned operation led by President Trump and House Republican leadership, as well as outside partners. Trump's MAGA Incorporated, you better be sitting down for this one, $347 million on hand. The Congressional Leadership Fund has $91 million on hand. The NRCC says it has $78.2 million in cash after the first quarter, which surpasses the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee of $69.9 million for the same period. The Republican National Committee has $116 million on hand. Now, let me scroll back up here. The DCCC, $69.9 million. How much of that money was spent on Virginia alone? Because in Virginia, they spent $100 million to get as much of the yes vote as possible to try to redistrict in Virginia. We don't even have a decision if that referendum was even legal. And they spent $100 million of money on that referendum. Not state money to do the we're talking about advertising and get out the vote type stuff. A lot. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of, man. Put simply, Republicans have a financial edge to go on offense, protect our incumbents, and expand the majority. It said this sustained momentum reflects growing enthusiasm behind the Republican agenda focused on lowering costs and keeping Americans safe, while Democrats' lagging numbers signal a disengaged and shrinking donor base. Meanwhile, House Democrats on a news release on Monday said they are adding 8 candidates to the priority list for the House races in November elections, upping the total to 20. All right? Yeah. Republicans currently have 218 to 214 majority, and Democrats need to flip a total of 3 Republican seats in November to control the lower chamber of commerce. As American people reject House, okay, I'm going to talk about Democrats. And then the last part is this past week, the Cook political report, that's other than the Sabato's crystal ball from the Center of Politics, right? The Cook political report shifted 4 seats toward Democrats ahead of elections, although Republicans are still favored to retain the majority. The Cook political report analysis Jessica Taylor said in an X post in mid-April that the likeliest outcome is a 1 to 3 seat Democrat pickup, which is just short of the 4 they need to reclaim majority. It ain't going to happen. The lady she's high on something. We are going to retain, if not expand, the majority in the United States Senate. Definitely. And we're not going to lose the House. So she's totally, and she's smoking something she shouldn't be smoking. What time we got now? 12:53. Okay. So Do I want to read that or do I want to read that? California's a place I want to be, so I loaded up the family and moved to Beverly Hills, that is. I love that show. All right, Spencer Pratt. How many people know who Spencer Pratt is? If you don't know, Spencer Pratt is running for mayor of Los Angeles. Spencer Pratt, in his younger days, back about almost 20 years ago, wow, he was on a reality show, 2 reality shows called The Hills, and then he was on Laguna Beach or something like that, right? He lost his house early last year, all right, in the Palisades, right? And, that's a fact of life in California, wildfires. That's why you have insurance and stuff like that, right? His house burned down in Palisades, and he found a place and got a trailer and moved into it up in Santa Barbara County, right? Santa Bernardino, I think. Santa Bernardino County. And was trying to get his house rebuilt in the Palisades. And he was like moving pond water, okay? Pond water doesn't move, right? It just still. You can make all the motions all the ways you want, it ain't moving. And he tried and tried. He just ran into wall after wall that was built by the mayor's office, which is with Karen Bass, the current mayor of Los Angeles, right? He got so fed up with the process because nothing was happening that he took his trailer and moved it back in his property in the Palisades to reestablish his residency, and then he filed a run for mayor against Karen Bass and some other lady, right? Because he was so fed up. Spencer, and he is a Republican. How many Republicans do you know live in Southern California that are part of Hollywood? Not many. Not many at all. I can name a few. That's all. Spencer Pratt finally had a chance to confront LA Mayor Karen Bass on stage. Hollywood Range followed me. Oh, cool. Spencer Pratt finally had a chance to confront LA Mayor Karen Bass on a debate stage on Wednesday evening, delivering a passionate performance that could change the shape of the race. The reality TV star and Palisades fire victim channeled months of frustration with the city and the state into an effective effort at the Skirball Cultural Center in a debate moderated by NBC Channel 4 and Telemundo 52. The moderators tried to restrain him from the beginning, nervously warning him against name-calling and then scolding him, talking about fair and unbiased press, right? When he called Bass a liar after she said some of his claims were inaccurate. They treated him like the beggar at the feast, the commoner at the royal table, like he didn't belong. It didn't matter. Pratt was the strongest personality on stage, and in the biggest surprise of all, he looked solid like a big city mayor with expertise beyond the devastating fire that motivated him to run. On the left, Karen Bass also took hits from socialist city council member Nithya Raman. Raman made the case that Bass had failed to deliver for LA, especially on housing, but she struggled to suggest alternatives and then fumbled when asked to explain some of her more controversial votes in the city council. Boy, this even gets better. All right, the mayor, who has the support of the city's powerful public sector unions, looked the part of the embattled incumbent, projecting to sense of authority, but constantly on the defensive. She pointed to modest declines in numbers of homeless people living on the street, as well as a drop in crime. She admitted the failures in a fire, though she tried to deflect blame to the fire chief, whom she fired. Pratt gained momentum in recent weeks using a series of widely praised ads to generate online buzz and fundraising. One ad shows Bass's comfortable home, then Ramon's, then a trailer on ruins of what used to be his house on the Pacific Palisades. That's effective. Remember, Dan Bongino says snapshots and sound bites. Okay? So one particular memorable exchange occurred how to save Hollywood, given the flight of production from the city. Bass talked about making permits easier to get. Rahman talked about her husband involved in the industry. Pratt slammed both of them for what he described as their complacency, saying they had already had their chance and had done nothing. These two politicians failed Hollywood times 1,000. Okay, so this is Spencer Pratt. You knew he would talk about Karen Bass's failure, and this is part of the editorial part, failure in the fire. But what impressed most was the fluency of the other issues, from crime to housing. He was spiky and witty without usually being rude, and at times was deferential to his opponents. Pratt also set aside his trademark scruffy social media appearance for a clean-shaven look with a suit, no tie, and looked right for the job interview. He brought forth energy and intensity to the stage and was a clear candidate for the change in LA. Oh man, they didn't put the one article. Okay, so the socialist mayor, the socialist candidate, she's the city council lady, right? She talked about how much she wanted to put forth more of the $400 million budget they had allocated for getting homeless people off the streets of LA, right? And Pratt interrupted her. Well, because she was trying to justify her existence, right? He said all she's going to get is get stabbed in the neck. She's going to get stabbed in the neck because all they want in that part of LA is fentanyl and super meth. She has no idea what she's doing or what she's proposing, and she said this. He said the same thing about Karen Bass. Okay, this guy, he's a Republican. And I think he's got a really good shot of getting elected. Either he's going to win outright with 51% of the vote in June, in a month from now, or he's going to get in the top two, and they're going to carry this grudge match all the way to November, and then he's going to get elected. Him and Steve Hilton, both. California needs help. And they got to get away from this power struggle of what these Democrats have been doing to that state and that city for years, because they're destroying it. And if you look halfway across this country to Texas, we're doing remarkably well here, and we're second in population now. Going further on east to Florida, same thing. Florida is doing great. What's happening to New York, Illinois, and California is tragic. And you could even throw Colorado in that. It's tragic what those governments are doing to the populace. And you just compare it to what's going on in the southern states, especially Texas and Florida. Matter of fact, if you sneeze, Virginia is going to be in the same category as those other states, right? Spencer Pratt, LA mayor. All right. Where are we at now? We're at 103. Alrighty. Wow. Okay. I gotta. Wow. Okay. At the beginning of the podcast, I was telling you there was about 2,000 voters in Morgan's Point because they had 225 actual voters in that city council race the other day. My buddy Dennis Faulkner, he's the chair of the West Side Conservative Coalition um, in Bell County, right? He just texted me. Morgan's Point has 3,769 registered voters in the city of Morgan's Point, and only 225 voted. Need I go any further? This is why people need to get involved in running for office and actually campaign. How do you only get 225 people out of 3,700 people to vote? If you take that up, that is 10% would be 300. So divide that. They had a 5% turnout for a city council election. 5%. Are they out of their mind? And then they wonder why. Oh man, what's going on with my town? They're raising my taxes. Yeah, I wonder why you're not getting out and vote. You're sitting behind a computer or Facebook. Recall them out. Recall them out. Fire them. Go run for it. And then nobody does anything. 5% turnout. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. What are we even doing? We might as well appoint a city council person. Grab someone off the street. We knight thee, city council person. Man, this is ridiculous, right? All right. So I'm going to finish the rest of this tomorrow morning. I need to do one other thing, and I know Covite for Life is on here, and he is not. What do you call it? He's not Rumble Premium yet. We got to get that fixed, man. We got to get it fixed. So I got to do a Rumble Premium. All right, I have to. It's because I'm on that. I'm on that creator program. I have to do this. All right. So, so before I leave, I'm going to show y'all. This is what's going on May 12th here in Coppers Cove. We have a meet and greet at Giovanni's at 6 p.m. All right. And we invited the candidates from the county judge, county commissioner 2, and county commissioner 4. We've invited Scott Weddle, Tully Meyer, Ray Ashby, Justin Smith, Rob Irwin for county judge, and Roger Miller. So they're invited to come. Hopefully they come. But next Tuesday, May 12th, Giovanni's at 6 p.m. Y'all are invited to come, okay? So with that, I'm going to sign off on the regular podcast, and I'm going to go premium only, and I'm going to talk about stuff from Gabby, from Tulsi Gabbard, and another about service, national service, right? So hopefully y'all can stick around for a little bit. I'm just going to do this for a little while. So let me go ahead and click. I'll check y'all tomorrow morning on the morning brief. And here we go.